Hello, everybody. What's going on? I'm Aslan, joined by Ira Schofel, managing editor of Warchant.com, and our senior, lead writer, Corey Clark. Promo code is scrolling down below. Warchant30 gets you 30 free days of access. Ask for it, maybe for a holiday present. Wouldn't it be a bad idea? We're back here again, breaking out questions from roundtables into a little bit more of a thorough discussion. Let's kind of look at this twofold. Let's look at it through the optimistic lens that is Ira Schofel's eagle eye, and then maybe me, the more cynical, glass half empty guy of where we go from here with Florida State. As we enter the 2021 season, not too far away, we don't even know how the roster stands pat right now. There's a couple spots left open for them to add. Maybe there's a late minute addition to the coaching staff. Maybe there's a change there. Who knows? So things could change even before we release this to you guys. But Corey, as we do go into 2021 and we sit here now at the end of December, what has you feeling a little bit better, I guess, about where this program is and where it's headed?
The winning streak they ended the season on. Thought that was a really well-played game. Defense held Duke to 35. How can you not be excited going into January? I would say
it was a season-high one-game win streak.
Yeah, well, that's right. It tied the other two. I would say, well, no, I think they had a 2-game winning streak, didn't they?
No.
They beat Jacksonville State and then beat North Carolina.
No.
Notre Dame, I think, was after Jacksonville
State.
Oh,
you're right. That Notre Dame that felt like a win. You only lost to them by 16. I would say the thing that gives you the most, warm feelings going into next season is the offensive line wasn't terrible. It was actually okay. And if you'd have told Florida State fans before the season, look, not only are you not going to have the worst offensive line in Power 5, you're going to have like a middle-of-the-road offensive line, which is, I think, what you could say about this offensive line through the course of 9 games. I think they'd be pretty excited about it. So throwing away everything else that happened, I think the fact that the offensive line was competent, it didn't get completely steamrolled. Even when it played a good defense like Notre Dame, it didn't get steamrolled. To me, was a positive. Jordan Travis also is something that I think you feel good about going into next season, whatever capacity he ends up being used, whether he's the starting quarterback or kind of a Swiss Army knife. I think that you feel really good about what he is as a playmaker.
Ira, what about you? What has you feeling better, I guess, now versus whatever, a month and a half ago when things seemed really bleak?
Yeah, I would think something that, Corey wrote about, you guys talked about it on Wake Up Warchant, and I would echo, is the fact that I do feel like you're down to a group of guys from what we saw in the Duke game and what we saw in what we heard about the couple weeks of practice leading up to the Duke game, is I do think that they're with a group of players now who I think have a better understanding of what's expected, have a better buy-in, are more committed to what this staff wants them to do, what Mike Norvell wants them to do. So I think those are real positives. And I think that dovetails really well with the arrival of Mackenzie Milton. And with him coming in as a transfer, we'll see. There's obviously questions about whether or not he's as dynamic a runner as he was before. He says he's been cleared to play. He did run the scout team at UCF. He expects to be cleared for contact when he gets to Florida State. We'll see how that happens. From what we understand, FSU is excited. They expect him to be able to play and compete in 2021. So that's really positive from a playmaking standpoint. We all know he's a great playmaker, but I really think the biggest thing, and the coaches talked about it on signing day, both Kenny Dillingham and Mike Norvell, but I really think the biggest thing is it goes back to what I started off at the beginning. Just he's a pro's pro from everything we've heard. I mean, he knows how to prepare. He knows what goes into just things like watching film, just things like preparing his body to play. I mean, there's a difference between, the guys who already have that pro mentality when they're in college versus guys who kind of take more of a say a high school approach, but just not as serious and not as dedicated to every little detail of the game. Just talking to people around the program, they're excited that, Chubba Purdy and Jordan Travis and Tate Rodemaker are just going to get to learn from this guy. So if he turns into anything close to what he was at UCF, it's a huge win. I mean, it's a lottery win for Florida State. But if he's just the guy he has been and brings that to the locker room, brings it to the practice field and the meeting rooms, that has me real excited. Again, especially because I do think they've got a nucleus of guys that buy in now, and you would assume that the freshmen that they're bringing in, like the kids they brought in this past year, are going to be guys who are really in line with the vision.
And you also think, right, Ira, that, I mean, quarterback is obviously the most important position on the field. And you feel pretty good about both the guys that started for you this year. Chuba, you got one start out of him. But the difference between his second half against Pitt and his second half against NC State, you're like, wow, if he can make that kind of leap in 1 week, what's it going to look like in 1 year or 2 years? I just think the impact that he could have on Jordan Travis or Chuba Purdy can't be overstated, right?
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And to your point, those guys, I mean, and I know you guys have had your arguments about it. I'm more on your side. I think you can win with Jordan Travis as a quarterback at the college level. I think he can be successful, but there are things he needs to get better at. And, same thing with Chuba Purdy. Chuba Purdy's, again, I liked what we saw in the NC State game, especially that second half. He looked like a quarterback who could play at this level and could win football games at this level. Not that he made a lot of winning plays, but he at least looked like he was confident. He stepped into throws. He made some nice plays. And you think about down the road. But if he got a year to sit and watch, I think that would really do wonders for him as well.
Yeah, you would think you'd go into 2022 if they both stay with a junior Jordan Travis at quarterback and a sophomore Chuba Purdy at quarterback. And those two guys are the guys that you think might be the future of the offense. So either one of them. So yeah, it could be nothing but good for them to be able to learn from Milton, even if they end up beating him out. But to be around a guy that's won 23 straight games as a starting quarterback can only do wonders for them, I would think.
I just like where the offense is going overall, right? I mean, we actually did get to see games played this season, thankfully. Most times it wasn't, thankfully, that we actually got to watch football, but, football season happened. I think we like what we saw from his coaching staff. I think we liked what Mike Norvell dialed up, the way he schemed guys to get open. Obviously not the most dynamic, athletically imposing offensive roster, but he was able to get guys open. Maybe part of that is because of the way Jordan Travis scrambles in the pocket and buys time. But obviously, we did see things, I think, year one, offensively, what they run, the way the offensive line played, that you do feel good about the offense. I feel good about the way they call plays in certain situations. On the flip side, I guess my concern, obviously, is as we sit here and record this, everything is pretty much standing pat on the defensive side of the ball. They do have some salary cap flexibility, as you sort of nicely worded in your story a few weeks ago there, Ira. So they can hopefully add some instant impact transfers. But for me, going into 2021, my biggest concern is the defense. And just, I guess, if you are going to stand pat, which, again, right now seems like you are, what's going to – I don't know how much continuity changes. I know the same voice. Continuity is what people are saying, hold on to Adam Fuller, but if you weren't on firm ground, I don't know how the ground gets more firm just because it's a year later.
What do you think, Corey? What about the defense? Obviously,
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of what I saw.
No, but do you think it can get better just by, as we talked about earlier, buy-in and just guys doing their assignments and getting better at them? Because there's not going to be a huge infusion of talent. I mean, you do have, in terms of guys that we didn't see this past season, Demore Tate sat out the year. He was one of the top defensive backs in the country. So, he would help. You bring in a couple of transfers, you bring in some freshmen, but, you would assume that the guys that are going to be on the field for most of those games are going to be guys we saw, the Jarvis Brownlees, the Renardo Greens, the Travis Jays, the Amari Gaynor, guys that we saw a lot of this season. Brendan Gant's a guy that seemed to come on a little bit later in the season. Do you agree with Aslan? Do you think it's just, okay, it's going to be 2020 2.0 or can you see some potential there?
No, look, the potential isn't to be good. The potential is can it improve? And yes, I do think it can improve. I just think that when you have guys that know what they're doing and want to know what they're doing, and I'm not trying to speak ill of the people that will no longer be on this team, but if you have guys on a side of the ball that are invested, involved, and care enough to get better, that's what college is, right? It's hard to play college football as a true freshman. And even as a sophomore, you get better the more experience you get. That's just kind of a no-duh comment, but it's the truth. So they should be all the guys that they brought it up again and again, and it's what losing coaching staffs will do all the time when you remind everyone, oh, we had the youngest team in the country. Well, all right, well, none of those guys looked like they were very good. So how much better are they going to be next year? But they should be better. They will get a whole spring, we think. They will have a year's worth of experience. They will know the system better. And, are they going to be top 40? Probably not. But they could be top 65, which would be a 40 spot jump. But they were so inexplicably bad this year that just being normal bad will be a big step up. So I do think you could see improvement in what was so odd about this defense, though. Well, not odd, but the reason I think one of the reasons we didn't mention in the last video about what gave us hope is that defense was good against Arizona State. Like that's and it was a lot of the same guys that were playing this season. You're like, okay, well, if they can play like that, and I know Arizona State didn't have their good receiver and their good running back, but just how physical that defense was against Arizona State in that long forgotten Sun Bowl game, you thought, okay, well, if they can take that and incorporate that into an entire season now, for whatever reason, they didn't play that hard for Harlan Barnett, but maybe they'll play that hard moving forward, and they did not. They didn't look anything like that defense the whole season, but maybe you can see something like that next season. I think that's your hope, is they play hard and they play smart. They are not going to overwhelm you with talent because it's not a talented roster. But if they play hard and play smart, they'll have a chance to be significantly better.
To play 3D chess, bonus concern, because that's what I bring to this table here.
Yeah.
What is it? The quote, something about like worry is interest paid on trouble before it comes due or something like that.
We don't know that one. Have you heard that one, Ira? I think you just made that up.
I like it, but just because I think it could be a good challenge to figure it out. I'm going to write it down when we finish and see if I can figure it out.
Worry is an investment that hasn't come due until you
worry,
see trouble.
Worry is like I'm looking at the internet. Worry is interest paid on trouble before it comes due.
Okay.
Oh, I like it. I do like it.
Yeah. So
I would never be able to repeat it, but I like it.
Yeah. Well, you will. Just got to repeat it once or twice and remember it. I mean, for me, it's the concern is that you open with Notre Dame, and I don't know what the schedule is going to look like the rest of the year. I don't know what they open up week 2. It would not be favorable if they had to open up at Boston College week 2.
It could be defending national champion Notre Dame too.
Probably not.
All they got to do is beat Alabama and then like Clemson. It's fine.
Yeah, piece of cake. So I do wonder. We talked about in the off season, just just start a season off with a win. It sounded like you had that. It seemed like you had it with Georgia Tech, and obviously Notre Dame is not the sort of fits the bill there. And it would be really sort of I don't know, a bit of a staggering shot if they were to come out the gates with 2 tough games. Hopefully, there's something nice waiting for them after the Notre Dame game, because that would be my concern. Starting year 2, 0-2. But who knows? You can bring Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to lose guys. Maybe Ian Book leaves and Kyron Williams.
I was going to say, man, I'm gonna take your equation and we're gonna take some variables out, or because I think they had like 16 or 17 seniors. Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure Notre Dame's probably going to be in a better position to beat Florida State than Florida State will be in to beat Notre Dame. But it's not like they're going to be playing this Notre Dame team.
That's true.
They are losing, as you said, Ian, but that whole offensive line's apparently going to get drafted. They've got to at least reload, and it will be the first game of the season. So I think from that standpoint, that's one thing. And I think the other thing, just to me defensively, some of the guys that seem to buy in later in the year, the Emmett Rices and Asante, until he declared, he obviously, but still, your best players, even from this defense, are probably going to be gone. Janaris Robinson is already declared. When we're recording this, Emmett Rice has not said yet what he's going to do. My guess is there's a good chance he's going to go. I just don't know how many of those guys are going to want to play, because he was a 5th-year guy, right?
Yeah.
I just don't know how many of those guys are going to stay in school for a 6th season, and then start trying to play football after that at the next level. So, just some of the older guys that actually did stick around and buy in, I think you're going to lose several of those as well. So, again, I do think the defense has a chance to be a little bit better, but it's hard to predict they're going to be much better, just based on what we saw.
Someone's got to take some broad, bold predictions, and I like it, Ira. I like it. They're going to get better. They're going to get better. I like it. All right, we're going to adjourn. We'll be back with another one of these. Maybe even Gene Williams will join us and drop some real good knowledge. So in the meantime, stay connected to warchant.com, your ultimate Seminoles sports source. The premium recruiting board is definitely active this time of year. So do visit the website, use the promo code below, which is not below anymore, but There it goes. Use that, Warchant 30. He's Corey. That's Ira. I'm Aslan. Thanks for watching.